So just make sure that you are comfortable on your mat, that you feel that your sit bones are nice and attached to the mat, and just place maybe your hand upon your belly so we can really focus on the breathing. So you're going to be trying to breathe in through the nose and fully out through the mouth. Perhaps it helps you to put your hands around your rib cage so you can really notice that cueing of the breath expanding the ribs nice and wide, and as you exhale, maybe you feel that the fingertips glide towards each other a little bit more. So when you're ready, you'll then just lie down into what we call the relaxation position. You're going to make sure that you've got your legs hip width apart, your feet are nice and grounded into the mat, you've got space in that lower back and the neck is long. Let's just explore how it feels to breathe that thoracic breath, taking one hand onto the chest, one hand onto your belly, and you just allow that breath to come in through the nose again. Feel the belly expand. Exhale, really releasing all of that oxygen, carbon dioxide outside of the body, and just continue with your breathing. And then we're going to start to engage a little bit of pelvic floor. So as you take a breath in, you're going to start to draw up that pelvic floor as if you're trying to draw up and in a tissue. Hold it there at the top as you breathe. And then use your exhale as you release that pelvic floor. Try not to grip, try not to squeeze the bottom, but just rather think about drawing up and in from the back passages if you're holding in a fart, and also trying to stop yourself having a wee. Good. So just doing a couple of those, trying not to let anything else get involved. And then we'll start to rock through the pelvis and do some pelvic tucks, just north and south or up and down. And if that feels all right, you can then start to come into a spine curl. So you're melting the spine away from the mat. So just trying to peel it one stage at a time. So we're going to be breathing in to prepare for that movement. Exhale as you tip the pelvis and then start to lift and feel like you're lengthening the front of your legs. Breathing in at the top before you exhale, melt all the way back down. Good, so just keeping that nice settled pelvis now. Have a little breather. Remember, you can always stop and have a little break whenever you need to. So we're going to just start with some nice heel raises here. Maybe pop your hands, the heel of your hands onto your pelvis so that you can just feel if there's any rocking or rolling around going on in the pelvis. You're just looking at that nice lift and lower of the heels. And if you're feeling like you're nice and stable there and you're in control of it, you could start to then bring that leg up from not just the hip. At the heel raise, you then start to lift the whole of that leg up off the mat and bring it into a knee fold. We breathe in there and we exhale as we come down. If you're feeling like you're not sure whether you've got your lower back going into the mat as that leg comes in, just pop your fingertips just underneath that lower back and you'll feel if it starts to pressure onto the hands. Maybe that means you're not quite ready or you need to up the dimmer switch in that centre a little bit more. Have a little break. Remember, you can just break whenever you need to. And then the next option is to add an arm movement. So we're going to reach the opposite arm of the leg back towards your ear. So we're just upping the challenge a little bit more now through the centre. You're still trying to make sure that the rib cage is reaching down towards your hips. We are trying to lengthen through the arm. We're not locking that elbow out though. Good. So you're going to be using your breath again. So exhaling, float the leg, float the arm back. Inhale, hold that position. Exhaling as you just gently return those limbs back to where they came from. So we've got that coordination requirement as well. So really having to focus on this movement. Breathe and reach and lengthen. Exhale, return. Remember, you can always take the stage below, so just stopping with the arms if that feels better. Let's just now have a little hug in. Take one leg in, then the other, and just draw those knees in towards the chest. Option to curl the head up so that you try and bring your nose towards those knees, and just have a little rock around there just to give that lower back a bit of a stretch. So you're going to replace the feet, replace those legs back into that hip width apart position. So we're going to float one of those legs up into its knee fold and then see how it feels to bring the next one up as well. We take a breath in at the top and then you float that first leg in, down, and then the next leg down. And we can continue to switch the leg that starts that movement. So inhaling, preparing, exhale as one leg comes up, then the next. Breathe in, maintain that position before you then exhale. Take one down and then the next. Continue like that, and then the option here would be to float the arms up as well now. So the fingertips are reaching up towards the ceiling. And so we've just taken away a little bit of stability through the arms here. So feel grounded through the shoulder blades, but without reaching too far up towards the ceiling, and try and keep those shoulders, keep those arms nice and still as you just work the legs. Have that little break. Remember, always just listening to your body. Check that that pelvis is back to neutral. Arms back down by your side. And then let's float those legs back up. 1 and then 2 into that double knee fold. Make sure again that you've got that space in the lower back. We're going to go into a single toe tap. So you're going to tap one foot down towards the mat. Maybe placing your hands just into the small of the back just to check that you're not letting that lower back sink into the mat. We're going to exhale as the foot comes towards the floor, and we're going to inhale as it returns. Just checking in that those shoulders haven't started to tense, that the neck is still long. Option now would be to add your opposite arm reaching back, just as you did in the prior exercise. So we're just taking a little bit more of a challenging option here. So listening to that body. So perhaps you want to keep those arms down today. The next time you do this recording, it might feel like, yes, absolutely, I can bring the arms up, but you're listening to what your body is asking of you. And the key here is trying not to allow the opposite arm or leg to move, as if it's supposed to be stable, can you keep it stable? And then just draw those feet, those knees in towards your chest again. Have a little rock from side to side. Just taking that break. Gently then, we're going to put the feet down and then roll over to one side. We're going to make sure that we're in a nice V shape. So perhaps use the back of your mat to line yourself up. But ideally, you're looking to have your heels, your bottom and your shoulder, or your pelvis and your shoulder, all in one nice line. The head is resting carefully on your long arm. Obviously, feel free to pop a cushion, fold a towel and between the head and the arm. And then when you're ready and you're feeling nicely centered, as you exhale, open the top knee away from the bottom knee and just feel that external rotation from the hip socket. No need to rush it, and just making sure that that hip is not sliding back. I'm going to do 8 of those, and then you're going to bring your legs into more like a 90 degrees position. Create a little pillow with your bottom arm, and then doing some nice chalk circles here. Perhaps if you've got a cushion, you can pop that directly underneath your ear and allow your head then and your neck to turn to watch those fingers as they circle. And you're breathing so that we're creating more space. So the first half of that circle is an exhale, and the second half is that inhale. We're doing about 4, and then you're reversing that circle. Good, allowing that palm to turn according to how it feels within that arm and shoulder. Just notice how it automatically just does its job. The beauty of the body. Trying to keep those knees nice and securely together so that they are like a nice anchor to stop you rolling around. Carefully bring yourself up to a seated position. Just let your legs be over to the one side and take a little side stretch. Twizzle those legs around, and let's set up to do the same on the other side. So lining your shoulders, your hips and your pelvis nice and stacked, and heels in line with your bottom. Make sure you've got that feeling of a little lift through the waist. So absolutely not just lying down having a rest here. There's activity going on even before you start to move. But when you are ready, you're going into those nice knee openings. Maybe pop your hand onto your hip so that you've just got that feedback as to whether the hip is rolling back or whether you've still been able to stay nice and stable and still through that hip. Good. And then when you've done your 8, we're just going to give our hip area a bit of a rub. Remember, always give positive feedback to the body when it's done something. And then we're going to just change that leg position to be more like 90 degrees again, just so you've got that really nice stability and security. And then you're just going into your nice chalk circles. So remember, the key here is we're trying to get as much rotation and openness from the shoulder, but also the upper back. So this is a really nice stretch if you've been hunched over, baby feeding, changing. Or even just sat at your desk a lot of the day. And then when you've done 4 in one direction, make sure you reverse that circle. And feel that your knees are connected to the mat as well as to each other. And then gently pressing up through your hands to lift up, and then into that final little side stretch. Take that breath, feel the side of those ribs. And then just gently bringing yourself around to our 4-point kneeling. So here we're looking to just find a really nice neutral spine. And just check you've got space in front of you and behind you for your arms and legs to reach out away from you. So first of all, set yourself up so you've got a little bit more dimmer switch on in that lower abdominals so that you've got control of your lower back. And then just going into some really nice cat stretches. As you flex that spine, I want you to be much more focused on the lower back than the neck and the shoulders and the upper back, because that gets quite a lot of flexion throughout the day anyway. We know that that's got a nice range. So let's see how it feels to really try and round through that lower back. And then the same can be said really for the extension. You really try and focus on the upper back here. So trying to shine your chest forwards, not just yanking your head and neck back. Have a little break. So sitting into your rest position, so arms forward, fingertips grounded into the mat. Maybe the forehead comes to the mat, maybe it doesn't, but just breathing. And any twizzles of the wrists that are required just to reset, feel free. So come back up into that 4-point kneeling when you're ready. Make sure those wrists are right under shoulders, knees are right under the hips. Slide your right leg away behind you, keep it in touch with the mat, and then slide the left arm forwards. Take those limbs away from the mat if it feels appropriate and you feel you've got control. Just hold it there for a moment, find that balance, check that the pelvis is level, and then you can start the option of taking the arm, taking the leg away from the body. So they go in opposite directions away from each other. Can you allow that movement to happen without completely tipping over or over into the opposite side? Let's try 4 times there and then switching. So checking as you slide that opposite leg out, Check the pelvis is still facing the floor. Reach the right arm away. And then you're going to go out to the side when and if you feel you have that balance and control. You do not need to do this. You can choose just to stay and then come back down and then reset to that position. Alternatively, you go into that abduction of the arm and the leg. So just taking those limbs just as far out as you can, really trying to maintain that rectangle of the shoulders and the pelvis. And bring those fingers, hands back in, knees back in, sit back into that rest. Again, have that stretch. Reach those fingertips away from you as if you're trying to claw yourself to the front of your mat. Really good deep breaths in through the nose, out through that mouth. We've got one more thing here. I'm going to ask you to bring your forearms down. There is an option there. You could come up onto your hands again, but it's quite nice to just change this position and you're still strengthening the shoulders. Let's slide one of your legs out behind you. Lift that leg up and just again checking in that the pelvis is level, that those hip bones will be still facing the mat. And then we're going to go and take that leg over to one side. Lift it in a rainbow or arc and then tip it over to the other side. Now, really not thinking about how big a rainbow you can create or how far apart those ends are. This is about really trying to use your center, your stability to maintain a nice still spine. Do about 4 on that side and then we're going to switch to the other side. So first of all, definitely just check in. Am I level? And then start to do those dips. Make sure that head is nice and long at the end of your spine. We haven't started to dip the chest, dip the head. You're really using the forearms. You're using the shin into the mat to find that support and stability. Bring that leg back in. Sit back into your rest. Remember, you're looking at that breathing to really expand the ribs. Now we can add a nice thoracic rotation here. So you're going to thread the needle through. So take one arm and just thread it underneath. Let your head just turn. Breathing here. See, this is an option. You don't have to take this option. You could just be resting back and then gently bringing yourself back through over to center and then switching to the other side. Again, just taking those really good deep breaths. Really nice. And then gently start to bring both hands back up. And then we'll just finish as we started. So coming up into your cross-legged, if that's what you did. And then maybe switch the leg that you crossed over last time. And then just finishing as we started with those breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just recognizing the hard work that your body has done for you. And there you are. Well done.